Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
Catherine Delahunty.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker, tēnā koutou, te whare paramata, ko tēnei rā. Just like to mihi to te tai rāwhiti iwi katoa tēnā rā koutou, having lived in their rohi. The statue of the tupuna, which this bill is associated, stood down by the awa. So often we'd be having rallies, sometimes protests, sometimes meetings, sometimes strolls along the riverbank, and there would be Wipere. So Wipere has always been a significant figure, whether the citizens of Gisborne understood it or not, a significant figure for tangata whenua in that rohi, and just acknowledging all of the whānau associated with it. The Green Party would like to acknowledge the comments of previous speakers in terms of, and the Māori Affairs Select Committee, because issues were raised around the rights of people associated with the Trust in terms of access to information and the effect of further corporatisation. Issues were raised around the appropriate place for jurisdictional disputes, and the Green Party would definitely support Meka Whaiteri's SOP around this. It's very important to recognise that there is law and there is law, and that the expertise of the High Court versus the Māori Land Court on customary law is an important issue. And so we look forward to hope to seeing this proposed amendment go through. But we do support the right of the Wipere Trust to act independently, to have their independence separate from the interference of the Crown. So this bill steps them out of the shadow of the Crown, if you like, into their own rangatiratanga jurisdiction. Stepping back from the detail of that, though, it is interesting because this trust has been in existence for a very, very long time, 1899, but in the end, whether it's 1899 or 2016, it's still the Pākehā legal framework dictating the process. It's still the issue of incorporation, the issue of trusts, the issue of Pākehā bankers' models in particular, defining land and the people's relationship with the land. So that in many ways, trusts such as this one have no choice. They have to stick within the framework that's available. But is that a framework based on haputanga and the opportunity for whānau? Nobody knows, because we've gone so far into the corporate reality that we don't ever question the way in which we do things. And many, many trusts like this have no choice. If they want to succeed, they have to play by the rules, they have to corporatise, they have to create flexibility for themselves. But that just is still reflecting the way in which law is interpreted from very much from a colonial perspective. 2016, we haven't actually moved very far, but we also recognise that this trust wants to do this. They wanted the Crown out of their business, so that's good that the Crown is out of their business, but we do think there are very real threats involved in the overall principle of corporatisation. A friend of mine who runs workshops on Māori structural models talks about the model of tangihanga. She's tangata whenua, clearly I'm not, so I'm quoting her. And she says tangihanga is the most intact structure for organising without corporate and hierarchical leadership that exists. Whereas most organisations are forced, if they have any financial status, to use the corporate model. And that we all think there's no choice, there's no other way. Tina, there is no alternative. As opposed to tama, there are many alternatives. So the challenge that we would put alongside the right of this trust of their self-determination is the challenge of, is this world allowing haputanga to exist at all in any kind of meaningful way in terms of an economic base or an economic structure? Or do we dictate economic models through our judicial system and our legal system, including the Māori Land Court, which is not exactly an instrument of liberation traditionally, or do we allow for a different way of doing things? That is a question for people who know more about these things than me. But I'm putting those questions because they've been raised with me. They've been raised with me about whether the traditional governance models of the Pākehā world actually create the space for tangata whenua to do things their own way. Or is it just that we all have to do it the same? And we all have to do it according to the dictates of modern hyper-capitalism, to put it bluntly. That's an interesting challenge. I don't have a quick answer to that. But when my friend says that tangihanga shows that everyone has a place, she says that everybody, without being told what to do, is valued, learns their traditions. I'm interested in that model as well.
Order.
Kia ora.
The Speaker.
Mama Fox.
Tēnā koe, Mr.